Hello guys, how are you? My name is Tokir Ahmed. I am former visiting professor of neuroscience at Johns Hopkins University, USA. So today's topic, which I will explain, is cerebrospinal fluid, which is commonly known as CSF. The role of CSF is very important in the functioning and protection of the nervous system. So, if we talk about the production of CSF, it is produced by the choroid plexus. It's a specialized network of cells and blood vessels within the ventricles of human brain. I will show you the picture of human brain ventricles. Ventricles are spaces in the human brain tissue where this CSF circulates. The primary function of choroid plexus is the production of CSF. Ventricles of the brain are cavities that store the CSF, and also the circulation of CSF takes place in the ventricles. The CSF surrounds brain and spinal cord, cushioning them and protecting them from trauma. The important role of CSF is to provide cushioning in between the bone and the brain tissue. And whenever there is trauma or sudden shock or any jerk or when we jump, so CSF being the liquid, it actually provides the cushioning effect and protects us from the trauma. CSF is also responsible for the removing of the wastes and delivering nutrients to your brain and maintain temperature of the brain. CSF then finally exits the fourth ventricle and drains into the subarachnoid space. So if we see here, human brain has four ventricles. Four ventricles are shown here, and there are two lateral ventricles which are shown here with the help of this line, and then there is third ventricle and which is connected with the lateral ventricles with the help of interventricular foramen. And then there is a tube-like structure, cerebral aqueduct, which connects third ventricle to the fourth ventricle. And then, uh, like the from the fourth ventricle, CSF exits and then it passes through the central canal and it also moves into the subarachnoid space. So this diagram on the right side is shown to give you an idea about the connection of ventricular systems. There are lateral ventricles, then there is a third ventricle, and then there is the cerebral aqueduct, and then there is the fourth ventricle. And then this central canal is actually moving in the middle of the spinal cord towards the end of spinal cord. Okay, in this figure, uh, I want to show you the subarachnoid space where CSF circulates. If we look at the if you look at the if you look at the structure, the meninges, first of all, the skull, which is towards the most exterior side, and then there is the brain tissue, which is over here. So this is the gray matter shown here, and this is the white matter. So then there is dura, and then there is arachnoid space, and then pia mater. In between the arachnoid space and pia mater, there is subarachnoid space. Subarachnoid space is the space where CSF is circulating. So all around the brain and bone, in between the bone and brain tissue, there this area which is shown here, like here, which I am showing you with the help of this line, is the space where CSF is circulating. Okay, like I have explained in my initial slides, that choroid plexus is responsible for the formation of CSF. So once again, I'm trying to highlight here the important function of CSF, which are like waste removal and nutrient intakes, which can be shown here in this figure. I am sorry, the fonts are smaller, but I hope you will understand. The waste products, like for example, ions, amino acids, which are like uh, not required. They are actually, they move from the cerebrospinal fluid into the cerebral capillary. So this is a capillary which is in connection with the choroid plexus, which is shown here, and these are basically the choroid plexus cells. So this is the cerebrospinal fluid in the third ventricle. So the waste is moving in this direction, like you can see here, and moves into the capillary, and it is actually then removed. And the required nutrients, for example, ions, sodium, chloride, potassium, and bicarbonate, vitamins, and other nutrients, required nutrients, they are actually taken up into the cerebrospinal fluid, and then the composition of CSF is maintained like this. Finally, it is very important to know the composition of CSF. So CSF composition, in this slide we will discuss the composition of CSF, and also it is important to compare it with the plasma. So it has, CSF has very much similar composition like plasma, but there are few differences. The similarities are that it has sodium ions, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate, and lactate, which are very much similar like the plasma. The prime difference is there in the phosphates and the protein, which you can see that in case of CSF, the protein composition is usually 20 to 40 milligrams per 100 milliliter. The protein and glucose are expressed as milligram per 100 milliliter in the CSF and plasma for the sake of comparison. Slightly lower glucose level as compared to the plasma, but main difference is there in the proteins in case of CSF and plasma. Okay, so that's it for the CSF lecture. So thank you so much for listening to me. For if you have any questions, specific questions related to this lecture or any other, or any comments, you can contact me at this email. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.